recorded live at 4ZZZ Studios, Meanjin, Brisbane.
On 102.1 FM.
And broadcast across Australia on the Community Radio Network.
You're listening to Z Games.
Z Games brings you the best in gaming news, reviews, community and culture. Want to reach out?
Share your hot take?
Or do you just want to share your favourite game?
Find us on socials at ZEDGamesAU.
You're listening to Z Games. My name is Hazel, and I'm here in the studio with Paul and
Caroline.
And Caroline, are you my right-hand man, left-hand man today?
I'm left-hand man. Left-hand
co-pilot.
arm. Your silly rabbit.
Oh no, no.
Okay, I'm sure it's video game related, so silly rabbit. Can we please get this personal anecdote
you don't want to know.
on
You
the
don't want
airwaves?
to know.
I like to know so many things.
You're listening to Z Games here on 4ZZZ, and we're here to talk about video games. So, anybody play any video games lately?
Yeah.
Yeah? Which ones?
So many.
At least 3.
Any good ones?
Yes.
Well, one that I'll be talking about later tonight.
2 that I'll be talking about later tonight.
2? Okay, give me 2 reviews. I'll do another one. I got to be parody. I can't be behind the 8 ball on this one.
No, I'm winning tonight.
Well, yours is like a combo review.
Yeah.
Good
combo.
Oh, yes, I remember now. Good. Otherwise, I don't know, getting into, I was doing something in VR. I feel my life's so apart, I can't tell the difference between my VR and my real life now. Was it a game or was it just...
You're actually living out Ready Player One.
Oh, gosh, no.
No, this is VR chat right now.
And it's going to be just as lame.
Oh, VR chat is wonderful.
Yeah.
I so desperately want to do VR chat. I can do VR chat.
I think the one time, one time I really delved into it, we just did not know what was going on, and we just went to a karaoke bar, and there's someone as Snake singing Total Eclipse of the Heart, while a teapot person is just dancing on the table, and like, hi y'all.
It's a magical experience. Yeah. It's a magical place.
Except
video
my
games
eyeballs sweat the entire time that I'm using VR.
Well, yeah, but video games can take you to other places.
Yeah. Isn't
that wonderful?
It was much nicer than my foray into Second Life, which was
the most. Can you imagine Second Life in VR?
I think that people do it, but it would be gross.
Sounds terrible.
Be even more gross. I wish we were in a time slot that I could describe my adventure in Second Life, but we are not.
Yeah, no, thank you. No. I don't want to hear it.
I don't think anybody wants to hear it. Although you never know. All sorts.
I haven't been playing much lately. Actually, I've been so busy and sick. Ugh. That's enough out of us for the moment. But coming up right now is the week in gaming news from our fearless leader, Zara.
This week in gaming news, does this count as rage quitting? Twitch streamer Niru spent April 25th grinding to become the first level 300 player in MapleStory, a free-to-play online multiplayer role-playing game originally launched in 2003. This stream was promoted by the developer Nexon and had over 20,000 viewers. After nearly 17 hours into the stream, Nero then launched into an hour-long rant about the game's economy and how the game's worlds differ. Over here, in Heroic, it's free-to-play friendly. Pay-to-win is accepted here in Interactive World, but the free-to-play experience is awful and that's what needs to be improved right now, Nero explained. He then goes into detail about the number of servers available, the cash shop, as well as a number of other concerns before ending the stream at level 299. It is estimated that he has spent over 10,000 hours before stopping at 99.993% of the way to level 300. Nero booted up The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time the next day, apologising for the way the stream ended the day before, but he certainly doesn't regret how it ended. I genuinely think that the game is not worth playing anymore in Interactive World, and if I just jump ship over to Heroic, then it's GG. I'm running from the problem, and I'm not doing that. And there's nothing wrong with Heroic World at all. I have nothing against you. Returnal returns. It's the 3-year anniversary since Returnal, a roguelike shooter that follows Celine Vassos, an astronaut looking for a mysterious signal on the planet Atropos. If you enjoy this game, then you might look forward to Dark Horse Comics teaming up with House Marquee as they revealed an animated version of the first issue of an upcoming graphic novel, Returnal: Fall on Asteria. It's due to be published on October 22nd, 2024, with 88 pages of psychological thriller goodness. There has also been an art book teased, but a release date for that has yet to be announced. Game Changer made a game. Game Changer is a game show that combines puzzle solving, improv comedy, a bit of pranking, and a lot of competition, hosted by College Humor CEO Sam Reich. For the most part, the premise of the show usually involves the contestants trying to figure out the game being played and the rules associated with the game throughout the episode. And now one of those games is a video game you can play for free right now. Based off the game Deja Vu, it has players navigate a maze by choosing to go left or right at junctions, make the wrong turn, and you encounter a silly death. Developed by Colin Watterson, the game works well on PC, badly on Mac. News nibbles. Starfield will be getting a big update in May, which will include new difficulty options for gameplay, shipbuilding customization options, and more quality of life improvements. Land vehicles were also announced to be in development, but we don't know when those will join the game. Roll 7, responsible for Rollerdrome and Oli Oli World, and Intercept Games, responsible for Kerbal Space Program 2, will be closing down as Take-Two Interactive announces its plans to lay off as much as 5% of its workforce in the coming months. And the Fallout TV show has hit 65 million viewers in 2 weeks. Yahoo! And now for some upcoming games. May 2nd, that's today, brings Endless Ocean Luminous for the Nintendo Switch. May 7th brings Prison Architect 2 for the PC, PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, and May 8th brings Animal World for the PC, PlayStation 5 and Nintendo Switch. That's it this week in gaming news.
Thank you, Zara.
Yes, thank you.
Now, I do desperately want to talk about that story right up the top there. Maple Story streamer Niru. I'm not sure Zara really put enough sauce on this because they kind of
started the troll from the beginning.
He's doing something that's never been done in the game before. Sponsored by the developers of the game. It's 17 hours long and like 20,000 people watching. This is probably
also ignoring the time it took to get to that point in the game, which I'm sure is thousands and thousands of hours.
He estimates over 10,000 hours to get to where he was.
How many years straight of playing is that?
I don't know.
That would involve math.
Google could probably sort it out for us.
You'll keep talking.
But he's basically got every eye in the Maple Story world on him at this point.
416 days straight of playing.
Into a stream. 416 days straight?
Yes.
Yeah, that's over a year.
Yucky.
And then right at the point where everybody's looking, he's about to crack level 300. It's never been done before. He just goes, I'm not doing this. I'm actually going to go on an hour-long rant about how the devs have ruined this game while they're sponsoring my stream. Like, that's...
I hope he got paid beforehand.
Yeah.
That's
They may not follow through otherwise.
It is a very ballsy move, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
It is one of the most investments into a troll I've ever experienced.
It's really incredible, and like he has to care so deeply about the game to do something like that.
Yeah, we're going to assume that at least the first 350 solid days of play, he really loved it.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, well, now it's time to craft my revenge.
Yeah. Well, in other news, the Fallout TV show has taken the world by storm. Has anybody here watched it?
Not yet.
Nope.
No.
I did, however.
I just assume it's fine. Walton Goggins is like an amazing character actor. Everything
it's pretty good.
Looks pretty. It's like, but I'm just not driven to.
I just don't care.
Well, I don't care about Bethesda Fallout, and it follows in that line.
Yes.
And I'm not offended by it. I'll watch it eventually. I hear it's very enjoyable.
I feel like I would watch it if it was an adaptation of the story of Fallout New Vegas.
New Vegas. I probably wouldn't like it because they'd ruin it somehow.
Well,
what if they did? What are you like? I mean, me as an old school pretentious Fallout fan would still have issues with New Vegas because New Vegas follows the changes Bethesda made to the universe, which make no sense. Why do they still use caps as a currency? This makes no sense. Why 200 years after coming out of civilization, are there still just a diner with a skeleton in it with a gun next to it? Why? Why, Hazel?
Because it's funny! I did, however, hear about Bethesda updated Fallout 76. And
Yeah.
since
Fallout 4 got...
Oh, was it Fallout 4?
Fallout 4 got the next-gen update, which just broke it.
Broke it, yeah. Okay,
and
that's
didn't,
what it
didn't
was.
even do the things that it said it would do.
Which is funny because everybody is going back to play all the
Didn't it-
Fallout games
didn't it
because they're so
also,
hyped from the show.
Didn't it also ruin a mod that had been worked on for years and was just
The
about to release?
London mod, yeah, they held off release to see what it would do, and it broke lots of stuff.
Yeah.
But they anticipated that, so it'll just delay it a little
I
bit.
just find it's very Bethesda.
In the depths of Fortitude Valley, the team behind Netherworld have birthed a new beast. Lost Souls Karaoke, a purgatory waiting room and bar, will lead you to one of 5 chilled private karaoke realms designed by Nelson Gibbons, where you will sing for your soul. Book a room and put your soul on the line from Tuesday to Sunday via lostsoulskaraoke.com. Lost Souls Karaoke are proud sponsors of 4ZZZ.
You're listening to Zed Games with Hazel, and I'm here in the studio with my friend
Paul.
and
Caroline.
and Caroline.
And Caroline had some sort of sickness.
Yeah,
I'm down with the sickness.
got a little bit too into the theming of Solium Infernum
Yes!
and got possessed. I've heard that can happen. Now, this is Zed Games. It's a show about video games, and we review video games
Quite regularly.
And I believe you've got one lined up for
I
us, Paul.
do. And I'm assuming because you're running the show, I don't have a cool rap intro. But that's all right.
Well, I
didn't have
can,
a cool... It's okay.
So why don't you tell me what the game is?
Oh, okay. We're going to talk about No Rest for the Wicked. Here we go! But it's not a review because it's early access, so it's kind of something like that. I don't know. I'm just going to go into some rambling rambles now, which is much like how I review things. Hey.
Thank you for that. Let's get started.
Well, thank you. Thank you for pumping me up. Okay, so we're talking about No Rest for the Wicked. This is the latest game by Moon Studio, who you may know as the developers of the Ori games. Absolutely beautiful games that the top of their class in the Metroidvania genre, but now they've broken away from side-scrolling and they've gone to a full 3D but isometric game with No Rest for the Wicked. Your initial impressions when looking at it will be generally kind of jaw-dropping, because as they have always done good graphics, they've continued here, and they have really leaned into the idea of painterly look. So basically all the textures in the game have brushstrokes on them. It's insanely detailed. There's a great deep dive, well, it's not even a deep dive yet, but like showing some of the background technology, a Digital Foundry doing it, where you can see any environment in the game is affected by different lighting and weather, and it all naturally goes through, and it's all systems driven, and it's great. So this game, you're washed up on the shore and you start to explore, and it looks a little bit Diablo. It does not play like Diablo. It has some similarities, but what we're looking for is a comparison is closer to Dark Souls. You are looking at having 1 to 2 or 3 combatants at a time in a fight, but it's quite different to Dark Souls also. So what you'll originally find is it's quite an open world. There are multiple ways you can go initially, and you start walking around and have a few combat encounters. If you die, you just go back to last checkpoint. You find the checkpoints, which you think of bonfires from Dark Souls, except those you don't get health back at those, and they are just checkpoints you return to on death.
Interesting.
So yes, it's a different loop. There's also no having to run back to get experience that you drop when you're killed. You just get experience. Also, using a checkpoint or dying does not respawn all the enemies in the area. They will return, but over time instead. So you can sort of like progressively just push your way through. Like if you were particularly struggling with the game, you literally could just like, well, I'll kill this one person, die to the next, go through, kill the next person.
Yes, brute force.
That would be a unsatisfying way to play, but you could do it.
That sounds horrible.
Yeah. So yes, it has all those differentials from Dark Souls, but what you quickly learn is sort of what you experience in most action RPGs of Diablo, is that the game world is flat. Maybe there's some stairs to go up to a different level, but effectively it's just a bunch of flat areas. You quickly understand that this world is not limited in that way. In fact, it is incredibly vertical, and your ability to climb and scramble and navigate up things and walk across narrow beams is immense, and you will find yourself climbing up and being able to look down. And sometimes an early fight with someone on a wall above the ocean, they knocked me off. I'm like, oh well, back to the checkpoint. Well, no, I just swam, and then I swam to another shore, and I got up and came through another different area. The exploration in this game is probably my favorite aspect of it. It looks amazing, but there are so many nooks and crannies and different pathways to find. And in the Souls tradition, you get through a challenge, there's surely going to be a ladder you can knock down or a bridge you can create or whatever, so to let you give another pathway through to avoid certain combat in the future. And then its main other focus is combat. And that combat is very weighty, very much dedicating to your animation early on. Yeah, it's stamina driven, so quite often that's where I put a lot of my early experience points, because I'd get like I need one more hit, and I didn't have any stamina, and then I'd be killed instantly. So it has all those things. The abilities are really tied to the equipment you put in, and there's a lot of weapons. Everyone has its own moveset, all that sort of stuff. Now, satisfying combat, amazing game world to explore. It looks amazing. The early access, which it is, the story takes sort of around 10 hours. There's 3 major bosses in it. And then it's to the current end game, which is sort of this roguelike-ish dungeon, but it's not really roguelike-ish, not that roguelike, because it's always pretty much the same with just some slightly different placements. But that's not all there is to continue. You have a town in the game, and you build up that town. You add vendors, you get buildings, you get other things in there. You get a house that you can put furniture in.
I'm going to be honest, you're giving me a really good pitch for this game right now.
Oh, yeah.
I too wish to be a homeowner.
It's then part of the main... So it's the great dream of our age, isn't it? But that also, because there are then daily and weekly challenges that send you back out into those earlier areas, and because there's this whole crafting system, there's actually still like resource collecting. So, flowers and all that, but chopping down trees, getting ore, things like that. But because it's sending you back to those areas, it's giving you something else to do other than just running through them and like getting you to look at them and explore in different ways. So it's got a really good long tail to it, which will really come into play when it becomes multiplayer along the roadmap.
Ooh.
This is really just described as the first act, and they have described this overall game they've described as their Fellowship of the Ring, and they plan to make the whole thing, which I assume they mean multiple games, their Lord of the Rings.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
And it's really story driven. Every time you get to a landmark, there's big cutscenes, and they look gorgeous, well voice acted. You can kind of see where it's going to go with its fantasy. I was like, I wonder if this big church is evil behind it all. Anyway, who knows? We don't know yet. It's only there. So here's the thing. The game looks amazing, plays amazingly. It's one of the most impressive things. And I'm going to say, do not buy this game.
What?
Because I don't understand why it's early access. I really don't. They've started making some changes from feedback. And all of these changes, whilst good, are kind of obvious. Like, the only penalty you get for dying is weapon degradation, which to repair costs money. It was quite a lot originally. And guess what? People hate weapon degradation.
Yeah. It's awful.
Yeah, so and it kind of is negated now, so I guess they'll try to rebalance to find something else to give you a penalty on death, but I could have told you that without playing the game. Even though I like it as a concept, I know the majority does not. So if you wanted to go by majority rules with an early access of like what feedback you get, of course that's going to be your feedback. Other things that are bad at the moment, inventory management is really fiddly. And even if you store all your equipment in your house with chests and everything, if you need to craft something, you have to physically go get it out one of your 15 boxes or whatever, put it in your, it's like, no, just pull the resources from your house when you're crafting. Like things that are...
Didn't think about any of the quality of life stuff.
Yeah.
That we've spent the last
and I guess it's
10 years of games developing.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I go like, I guess it doesn't really matter because that part's not a focus of the meat of the early access. Like you're really only getting that into the later game. Except, wouldn't you just plan for that from the beginning? Like,
It's so you would say that it being in early access, it feels like a mostly finished game that just has some weird decisions in it.
You know what my conspiracy brain says?
What?
They've just put in a bunch of these weird quality of life things on purpose. So it looks like they're reacting. So it's like, we're still in development, but they just need to get it out because it was something with the publisher or something. They needed to get something out now making money. So like, well, if we cut the game off and then just like make it look like it's not quite done, this is obviously conspiracy based on nothing.
Seems like a lot of work.
Yeah, but that's the thing. The game is great to play as it is, but I reckon once it's multiplayer, once the content's there and finished, it's the kind of game that will be great for people like me that just want to play through the story and also have a really long tail. But at the moment, it's just well, it's just going to be better in the future.
So it's just a super promising game that you should wait a little bit for.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many good games out at the moment that are finished. I don't think you get... This isn't like when you got in early on Dead Cells and you really saw that game evolve and change and it was a story to be in. Or Hades. Hades was incredible in early access. Like, it was so... Like, this game is... They know what they're doing. It's going to be this.
It's got some weird stuff in it.
Yeah, I just don't know why it's early access.
It doesn't feel ready yet.
Yeah. I mean, most of it's incredible.
Yeah.
And then it's just, I just don't know why I'm playing it yet. This is, so the best game I've ever reviewed that you shouldn't buy yet. But feel free. It's a big game. It will be a giant game. So it's that $60 mark. It's only on Steam at the moment, and it will be on consoles eventually. And just as a last point on me, why not to buy it yet? It's not very well optimized. So unless you have a really good computer, it will be a bit shaky. But I also have no doubt that they can do it, because if you remember when Will of the Wisps released, that running on an Xbox Series X would crunch, and then they got that game running on a Nintendo Switch.
Wow.
And the Xbox Series X version runs at 120 frames a second now. So they know how to optimize.
Okay. Well,
let it cook a bit more then.
Paul's words on No Rest for the Wicked looks awesome, but let it cook a little longer.
A little longer. You'll still have fun. Time to rest.
Now, I know that you did just finish a review of the game, but could you tell me what you think of the soundtrack?
Well, it's quite epic, but it ain't no Rest for the Wicked. I don't know.
You're listening to Z Games at 4ZZZ.
You're listening to Z Games on 4ZZZ.
Oi mate, you're listening to Z Games at 4ZZZ.
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 Got a bit carried away.
You're listening to Z Games with Hazel, Paul, and Caroline.
Yo.
I believe you've got another review for us.
I do. It's 2 reviews in 1. 2 for the price of 1.
Do you want to tell me what you're reviewing?
I'm reviewing Blasphemous. And also Blasphemous 2.
Oh.
Yes.
Well.
To start...
Let's fire away.
I got a finger waggle there.
What you gotta say about God? Something not good, because it's blasphemous in the house.
Tell me all about Blasphemous.
All right, to start with, I'm going to start with a sentence full of nonsense words. It's a 2D pixel art side-scroller platformer, Metroidvania Souls-like, with Catholic core aesthetics.
Wow, that was a lot of nonsense.
Yes, okay, so Metroidvania, the game's map, is gradually opened up to the player as they acquire new abilities through gameplay, and a Souls-like is, like the Souls games,
Like that last game we spoke
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which
was also like those games that it's like.
Yeah, so there's a focus on the difficulty of the game with set save points that, while resting at, will recover your health. It'll also spawn all the enemies back that you have defeated, minus the bosses, as well as you get a limited amount of healing items that can be upgraded in both how many you have and their efficiency. These only refill at the save point. There are penalties imposed by dying, and there are massive amounts of lore that is revealed through both gameplay and item descriptions, but yet obscured and open to interpretation. You play as the Penitent One, a silent protagonist brought back to life to be caught in an endless cycle of death and resurrection, wielding the guilty blade known as the Mea Culpa as he travels through a land gripped by what is known as the Miracle. The Miracle is described in the game's opening cutscene as, and thus guilt, repentance, mourning, and every pain of the soul of all kind were visibly and tangibly manifested everywhere and in all of us, sometimes in the form of blessing and grace, sometimes in the form of punishment and corruption. That divine will, equally pious and cruel, which we could not and will never be able to unravel, was called the Miracle. Be prepared for a lot of just nonsense words like that
I already forgot what you said.
Yeah.
I felt like I was in church.
Yeah, this game gives me kind of flashbacks to church, which is why I ignore the story for the most part, honestly. Anyway, the game's combat has a heavy emphasis on the parry mechanic, which seems the only viable way to fight bosses in the hard mode of New Game Plus, and which I really had trouble with mastering. Honestly, I just preferred to dodge everywhere. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the gameplay is focused on fighting your way through the world to find the boss fights that will allow you to progress through the story. Through your exploration, you'll run into characters and you can assist them to gain items and insight into the game's story, and the means to upgrade the Penitent One and his sword. When you die, you accumulate guilt, which restricts how much of your fervor, which is the game's mana equivalent, you have access to, and can be removed either by making it back to where you died and retrieving the guilt fragment, or by going to confession. As you do.
Interesting.
Fair warning, the game is pretty grim, it's incredibly violent, and there's plenty of nudity, although not in a fun or sexy way.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, I do speak for myself, honestly. It's also incredibly difficult. We preferred to run through the same rooms over and over again because you kept dying to one enemy, boss, or environmental hazard again and again.
Speak for yourself.
Oh, hush your face. That's why I love it. Managing to figure out the pattern of attacks and the right window to get my own attack in after the countless failures that came before is that rush you get when you finally break through the metaphorical brick wall after beating your head against it over and over again. And I do speak for myself in this
That's
review.
Good. I have a question.
Yo.
So what? When I fell off Blasphemous 1 was because they had a whole bunch of hidden mechanics where it would be like, oh, sorry, you walked past this tree too early in the game and it started a timer, so that now when you get to the end of this area, it's actually locked to you and you can never do it now unless you restart the game. Does the second game still have that sort of problem where it's so esoteric and unexplained to you that you can not do certain things without...
Yes. You need a guide. Listen, yeah. Anyway, and the religious theme is woven so nicely through the game, through the gorgeous pixel art with inspiration for the aesthetic coming from the religious art and iconography of Spain, and the gameplay itself with abilities and power-ups coming from the acquisition of relics and rosary beads, and the prayers being the game's equivalent of spells. The game does have its share of bugs, like getting stuck in a jump or not being able to complete the full height of the jump, and the controls feel sometimes not great. There's also the annoying thing of touching an enemy even slightly damaging you, so many times I'd be trying to dodge past an enemy, I'd misjudge the distance slightly and take damage, or forget that some enemies are just impenetrable walls that can't be dodged through. There's also some parts of the game, such as finding all the collectibles and some points of the NPC quest lines, that I just needed to look up a guide for. Also for how to get certain endings, and just, general mechanics of the game sometimes.
I mean, that's still very Souls-like.
Yeah.
We never wanted an alternative. It's just hidden timers always get me in games. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
It's a wiki game.
Yeah.
All in all, it's nothing that stops me from loving this game. And with an absolutely amazing soundtrack by Carlos Viola and plenty of content with 3 DLCs that come free with the base game, I'd say this game is worth it. And there's a sequel, of course, as you may have noticed from me saying that I'm reviewing 2 games. Blasphemous 2, same guy, different weapons, and a bunch of reworked mechanics. The controls are changed up, so transitioning from game to game was pretty tricky, at least for me, but the movement feels smoother, which for a platformer is very good, and the gameplay has been refined. The cutscenes are no longer pixel art, instead cel-shaded animatics have taken their place, which I have mixed feelings about. Instead of the mea culpa, there are now 3 different weapons, which I'm not going to try to pronounce. There are twin daggers, which have light attacks. There's a flail for heavy attacks, and a sword for a more balanced attack style, each with different abilities that are unlocked as the game progresses. Now, there's something about the art of the NPCs that just feels a bit less than the first game, maybe too smooth. I can't exactly put my finger on it. The bugs are still there. I've had enemies in arena-style sections get trapped off-screen, which means they were unkillable, and then I was trapped on the screen, meaning I had to reload the game, lose all my progress. That was really annoying, and I've gotten stuck in a wall and just died. Yeah, it's unnecessary frustration on top of the game's standard frustration. However, the first game, this is not enough for me to not love it. Alright, Blasphemous was developed by The Game Kitchen, published by Team 17. The music was composed by Carlos Viola. The first game is like $36 full price on Steam. It was released on the 10th of September 2019. Blasphemous 2 is about $45 full price on Steam and released on the 25th of August 2023. That's my review.
Damn, that was a lot.
I didn't realize the,
I cut so much out of that review.
I
Sorry.
have one last question for you. Do you feel like the game helped you work through some religious trauma?
Not really, since I didn't grow up Catholic. I grew up Presbyterian.
All right.
Which doesn't not have an aesthetic. If it has an aesthetic, it's like school halls and hummus dip afterwards.
Well, that is all she wrote. All they wrote. Even.
Yeah, I did write it. Do I get the end? There we go. And the review. And the review.
The cutscenes looks better in the first game.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to give a huge shout out to Elliot from West End, the latest 4ZZZ subscriber. We love you, Elliot.
Woo! Thank you, Elliot.
Killing it. And it's coming up to the end of our time slot, so we got to say goodbye. I hope you enjoyed listening to the show this week. I certainly enjoyed being on the show this week. I had a great time.
Enjoyed listening to you listeners.
Thank you.
And other people in the studio listening.
Yes, thank you for listening.
I love all of you. And we'll be back next week and keep you warm for the rest of this chilly Brisbane night. So with that, I'll say goodbye, good night.
Goodbye.
We love you.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Zed Games.
If you'd like to listen to more, you can find us on the Community Radio Plus app
or find us on socials at ZED Games AU.
See you next time.